A king came home from war after 10 years away. He had survived Troy, he had won, he was standing in the doorway of his own house with his own people cheering outside. He was dead before dinner. Here's the question. Almost nobody asks about the Odyssey, one of the oldest stories in all of ancient history and Greek mythology. We all know the monsters, the one-eyed giant, the storms, the 10 years lost at sea. But what if the sea was never the dangerous part? What if, for the men who survived Troy, the most dangerous place in the entire world was their own home? Stay with me until the end, because there's a moment in this story that almost nobody talks about, and it's the exact reason one of these kings lived and the other one didn't. Let's start where the story starts. A city called Troy sat on the coast of what is now Turkey. Huge stone walls, very rich, because every ship passing through that stretch of water had to go by it. A fleet of Greek kings sailed there and camped outside those walls. They stayed for 10 years. 10 years of sitting in tents, eating badly, watching friends die. Some of these men left home as young fathers. By the end, their children were nearly grown and had no memory of their faces. Then Troy fell, and every one of those men got on a boat and started sailing home. That's where most people think the story ends. Hero wins, hero goes home, everyone's happy. It's where the real story starts. If you like stories like this, the parts of the old legends that don't make it into the movies, please subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep going. The most powerful of those Greek kings was a man named Agamemnon. He wasn't the strongest fighter. He was the one in charge. The other kings answered to him, and when Troy fell, he got the credit. And his trip home was easy. While others were blown off course, Agamemnon sailed almost straight back to his kingdom, a fortress called Mycenae, massive stone walls up on a hill. 10 years. Won the war, home safe. So he did what any returning hero would do. He walked in through the front gate. Banners out, crowd cheering, a feast waiting. His wife came out to meet him and spread a beautiful cloth on the ground for him to walk on, like he was a god. Here's what he didn't know. His wife had not been waiting. She had a new partner. Together, they'd spent years running his kingdom, and they had no intention of handing it back. They'd also had 10 years to plan what to do when he showed up. The feast was real. The welcome was real. The trap was underneath all of it. Agamemnon survived 10 years of war. He didn't survive his first evening back. And here's the part that matters. He didn't die because he was weak or unlucky or a bad fighter. He died because he walked in as himself, openly, loudly, certain he was safe. Now the other one, Odysseus, was the clever one. King of a small island called Ithaca, famous for tricks. He's the one who came up with the wooden horse that got the Greeks inside Troy. His trip home did not go well. He upset the god of the sea, and after that nothing worked. Storms threw his ships off course. He landed on the wrong islands. He lost his crew a few at a time until there was nobody left but him. The giant, the witch, the whirlpool, the singing voices that pulled sailors onto the rocks. 10 years of war, then 10 more trying to get home, 20 years total. By then, his son had grown from a baby into a young man who wouldn't recognize him. And back on his island, more than 100 men had moved into his house, eating his food, drinking his wine, pressuring his wife to pick one of them and marry him. They were waiting for him to be officially dead. So one king got home fast and died. One king couldn't get home at all. But we still haven't answered the question this video is really about. Why did one of them survive it? That answer comes next, and it happens in the strangest scene in the whole story. Stay with me. Somewhere in the middle of all his wandering, Odysseus does something no living person is supposed to do. He goes to the land of the dead. He goes looking for directions home, and while he's there, the dead come to speak with him. Old crewmates, his own mother, who died while he was away, and he never knew. And then one more shows up, Agamemnon, the most powerful king in Greece, standing there as a ghost because he's already been home, and home is what killed him. He tells Odysseus what happened, the welcome, the feast, the wife who wasn't waiting. And then he says something that changes everything. Don't sail in openly. When you get near your own land, come in secret. Don't trust the welcome. Test it first. That's it. That's the hinge the whole story turns on. One dead king telling a living one. The war isn't the dangerous part. Coming home is. So when Odysseus finally reaches Ithaca, after 20 years, he does not walk in through the front gate. He comes ashore disguised as a poor old beggar. Ragged clothes, bent back, nobody looks twice. And then he does something that's almost hard to watch. He goes into his own house, the house he spent 20 years trying to reach, and doesn't tell anyone who he is. He sits in the corner, in rags, and watches. He listens to the men eating his food. Some of them throw things at him. He takes it. He watches his wife and says nothing. He's testing, working out who's loyal and who isn't. The only one who knows him instantly is his old dog, lying on a rubbish heap by the gate. 20 years, and the dog lifts his head, recognizes him, and dies right there. Odysseus can't even react. If he does, someone will notice. And then, when he finally knows exactly who is who, he stops pretending. He takes his house back. Every man who thought he was never coming home finds out he came home. He survives. Not because he's stronger than Agamemnon. He isn't. He survives because a ghost warned him not to make the same mistake. Now here's the part that gives me chills. There's a low hill in northwest Turkey. People dug into it and found a city. Then another city under that, 9 of them, stacked like pancakes. One of those layers is burned. Arrowheads still stuck in the walls. Bones lying where people fell, with nobody left to bury them. Troy was real. That city really did burn, right around the time the story says it did. And on the hill, where Agamemnon's fortress was supposed to be, people dug there too and found gold. Masks of gold, laid over the faces of dead kings. The places are real. The burning is real. The men will probably never know. But here's the strangest thing of all. For about 400 years after Troy burned, nobody wrote any of this down. Nobody could. Writing was barely used where these people lived. Which means this whole story, the ghost, the warning, the beggar in the corner, the dog on the rubbish heap, lived nowhere except inside people's heads. Passed from one storyteller to the next, out loud, for 4 centuries. Through wars, through the collapse of an entire world. And it survived. All of it. Right down to the dog. Because it was never really about monsters. It was about something everybody back then understood. Men go away for years, and the person who comes back isn't the same, and the home they left isn't either. 2 kings survived Troy. One walked in like a hero and lost everything. One crawled in like a beggar and got his life back. 3,000 years later, we're still telling both. That's all for today. If you found the video interesting, please consider subscribing to the channel. This is Ancient and After, signing off. See you in the next one.